Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be talking about the Maryland real estate market in 2022, specifically to first-time home buyers. What's going on, what can you expect, and if that's the kind of information you're looking for, we're getting started right now. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Living in Maryland channel, where we talk about all things living here in the great state of Maryland. So if that's the kind of information you're looking for, make sure to hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can be made aware of the new videos that we do each and every week, talking about all things living here in Maryland. And if you ever have any questions about moving here to the area, if you're considering purchasing a home, we absolutely love to help in any way possible. We're always available, however you feel comfortable reaching out, whether that's by phone, email, or text. You can always reach out on days, nights, and weekends. We've got your back when moving here to the great state of Maryland. All right, everyone. So as I mentioned, today we're going to be talking about how the real estate market is here in Maryland in 2022. So we're sitting just about halfway through the first quarter here in 2022, and figured we should, talk about the market and see how that's going here in Maryland, specifically to first-time home buyers. I coach with agents around the country, and it's just crazy about hearing how the market is in different areas. Real estate is definitely hyper local, so it can vary throughout the country. Although most of the country, almost all of the country, is in a pretty severe seller's market, but it still can vary from area to area. So there's definitely specific markets like Phoenix. Work with a lot of people who live and work out in those markets, and that's just an example of a market that's just absolutely crazy. There is definitely a lot of talk of first-time home buyers being squeezed completely out of the market, just given the volume of institutional buyers and just the insane increase in prices year over year. Maryland is not as crazy. So it's definitely a seller's market. Homes are definitely selling in, on average, about 5 to 7 days, but it's not nearly like a market like Phoenix, or other, parts of Southern California or areas like that. So just wanted to speak to that and give you guys an idea of exactly what to expect if you are coming here to Maryland, buying your first home here in the state. So specifically here in Maryland, we're really mainly just seeing your traditional buyers. And when I say traditional buyers, just people like me and you going out there and buying homes. We still have a pretty severe inventory shortage, which is causing it to be just extremely competitive. So, but that's something that you can expect. There are definitely several markets around the country where, as I mentioned, you have more institutional buyers, where large corporations are coming in and swallowing up real estate, which makes it even much more difficult for kind of any individual to go out there and buy a home. So in Maryland, we definitely don't see as much of that here. I think our price point kind of pushes that out, since we're one of the more expensive markets around the country, depending on who you compare us to. So that's kind of a good thing. You don't have to compete against these institutions, but you still do have to compete against a lot of other individuals out there who are have real estate needs and who are looking to go out there and buy a home. So a common term that you hear out there is highest and best. So when you hear that, when you see that on websites, that just means that there's multiple offers in hand, and that the seller is asking for everyone's best offer, most likely by a deadline. So what happens is, a home is typically coming on the market Thursday. The seller's gonna want it to ride out the weekend, so as many people can see it and they can get as much exposure as possible. And then they're asking for all offers by a certain time on a certain date, so that the seller can review those and then select the offer that they want to work with. So that's very common still here in Maryland. It's been going on for a while. I can't believe it's still happening, but it's just still that crazy, and interest rates still remain under 4%, which is still historically extremely low. So I think there's a lot of factors that are continuing to keep the demand high, and that competition is definitely still present here in the market. All right, so if you're a first-time home buyer here in Maryland, can you buy a home? And the answer is absolutely. There are some things that you want to be aware of, and just kind of know what to expect before jumping into the real estate market, just so you're not kind of caught off guard once you get pre-approved and start jumping into it. So yes, you absolutely can buy a home, but there's certain things that are being done kind of across the board that you want to be aware of. So if you find yourself in a multiple offer situation, which almost most homes within Central Maryland, between Baltimore and DC, if they are good condition, if they're not priced outrageously high, they're going to sell in probably the opening weekend with 3 to 5 or more offers. So that's what you can expect if you're looking to purchase a home. And the things that your competitors are going to be doing, and these are the things that you want to be aware of, is going to be the following. So the offer price is usually just the starting price, and pricing gets really tricky. So this is something that I like to tell people about too. The purchase price is really just what the seller and their agent has agreed upon to list the home at. And the thing is that some sellers want to, they want to list it high because they want as much money as possible, and they think that that's what's in their best interest, and they want to list it at market or even a little above market. And there's a lot of sellers that agree to list their home, significantly below market, maybe 3 to 5% below market, intentionally trying to generate, a ton of people coming through the door, and then the multiple offers, so buyers start bidding. So when you look at a list price, just try to take it with a grain of salt, because we don't know. Every seller's different, so we don't know exactly what their intention is with that list price and why they put it there. But in this market, it's extremely, extremely important to evaluate each property before you make an offer, and a lot of times before you even go to look at the home, so we can get an idea. Okay, is this a home that might very well meet all your needs? All right, well, let's comp it out. And when I say comp it out, let's look at comparable sales. What are similar homes that have sold in the area in the last 3 to 6 months? And let's get a really good idea before we even walk in the front door of what that home is worth, so we can know, okay, is this thing priced below market intentionally to generate craziness? Or is this thing listed pretty much right at market? And then we know that the price may not go crazy through the roof, but there's other things that are going to be happening. So I always tell buyers, if they are submitting strong offers, a lot of times it's not price that's going to kill you. So it's not price that is the reason why you don't get the home, it's the other things. So when there's 3 to 5 or more offers, buyers are starting to strip down their offers, meaning stripping down the contingencies within the offer. So your common contingencies are your home inspection, your appraisal, and then possibly, paying a certain fee for the seller that's normally they would pay on their own. So those are kind of 3 common ones where the buyer might take on that additional fee to make the offer more attractive to the seller. So sometimes people are waiving their inspections altogether, which means they're not even inspecting the home. That's about 40 to 50%. So you don't absolutely have to do that, but as is almost a non-negotiable in this market. And there's various forms of as is. So as is with right to terminate gives you the right to fully inspect the home and walk away if you're dissatisfied in any way. So that's something that I always like to inform buyers about, because that's just almost what we're seeing across the board right now. And then as is with no inspections, some buyers are doing. I totally understand that that's not something that a lot of buyers want to do. So you don't absolutely have to do that, but that's something you could be competing against depending on the property, depending on the location. The other thing that's really coming into play here is the appraisal. So when offers start coming in that are really competitive and the price starts going up a little bit, sellers rather kind of want to guarantee to know, okay, well, if the home doesn't quite appraise for what you're willing to pay me, so if you're willing to pay me $500 and it appraises at $490, there's a $10,000 gap there. I want you, Mr. Buyer, to cover that, is kind of what the seller is looking for. So we're looking at and still seeing a lot of appraisal gaps, depending on the price point, depending on how hot the property is. That gap might be small, it might be fairly large. So those are things that you are going to run into if you are looking to buy a home. If you are willing to do those things, you can absolutely buy a home. If you're not, if maybe you're just not in the position to do that, it might be very challenging to buy a home in this market. There's still certain things we can do. We can pay extra close attention to days on market. So if you're looking at homes and you're seeing that it just came on the market yesterday and it's Friday and we're rolling into the weekend, then maybe that's not a home that we look at yet until it's been on the market a week. And then maybe we can go in there and try to be in a situation where it's not going to be super competitive. So days on market is key. So pay attention to that, and that's also a huge gauge as to what the competition might be as well moving forward on that property. So those are a couple things just as an example, what you can expect coming into this market, just so you can decide between you and your family, okay, are these things that we can do financially? Are they not? And then help decide, if this is the right time and the right decision for you and your family to purchase a home. And then one other thing in regards to purchasing a home right now here in the state of Maryland is buyers paying their own closing costs is still almost a must. We've been seeing that in general across the board still as well. So closing costs are going to probably range from 3.5% to 4.5% of the purchase price, and that's going to depend on the purchase price. But just a quick example, on a $500,000 home, your closing costs are going to be roughly $15,000 to $17,000, and that's going to be made up of your lender fees, your escrow, starting your escrow so the lender can pay your property taxes and your insurance for you moving forward. It's going to be your title fees, it's going to be your transfer taxes, so the state and the county step in and tax every single real estate transaction in the state. Your survey is going to tell us where the property lines are. So when you bundle together all those fees, that's what I'm referring to as closing costs. And with multiple offers, with the market the way that it is, sellers they just kind of don't have to help the buyer out with those expenses at this time. So in previous markets, if homes are sitting on the market 30 to 45 days, it's very easy to get the seller to throw the buyer 10 grand to offset those costs. But right now, that's just not really happening unless you're able to find a property that's been on the market a while that has pretty low demand. But in general, that's an expense you want to be prepared for as well, and that's going to be in addition to your down payment. So that's something to keep in mind. And then also just kind of deciding or looking at with your lender what your financing options are. Are there ways that we can structure this that maybe make more sense, or maybe that free up a little more capital for you, given how competitive the market is? So I still talk to a lot of people who think that you have to put 20% down on a home, and that's just not the case too. So you can put as little down as 3% down conventional on a home if you're buying a home for the first time in Maryland. There are certain criteria, but it's pretty simple stuff. So 3% down, but then you can also do 5% down, 10% down conventional, and FHA is 3.5% down. So there's definitely options where you can put a smaller percentage down, get into a home, start building that equity, and just kind of go from there. So you definitely do not have to put as much down as some people may think. So looking into those options, seeing what's out there, seeing what might be a good fit for you and your family is also something to do as well. And then lastly, seeing if new construction may be a good fit for you and your family. So there's a couple things that you want to know about new construction. Is one, average turn times in Maryland are 6 to 9 months, depending on the builder, depending on kind of the status of the community. So a lot of times that may not fit for people's timelines if they're coming from out of the area. But the cool thing about new construction is that it's really first come, first serve. So you really don't have to deal with a lot of the competition. So if that timeline is something you can work with, new construction is definitely something to consider. So of course you're kind of paying a premium for the new construction, but you don't really have to strip down your offers as much. So considering new construction is something that I always just like to throw out there to buyers, seeing if that might be a good fit. Within Maryland, Maryland's pretty, especially Central Maryland, we have new construction, but not a ton, not as much as other growing metros and stuff like that, just because a lot of Central Maryland is already pretty developed. So new construction is something to consider, but also just knowing that there's not a ton of new communities within Central Maryland. So depending on where you're looking, you may not see many new construction options. So if you want to reach out, if you want to ask me about what new construction options there are, depending on the location that you're looking in, I can definitely let you know and give you an idea on if that's an option for you as well. All right, everyone, thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned something new today. If you ever have any questions, feel free to comment below or reach out, and we will see you at the next video.